قاعد في عندنا 25 اذار بعتبره خط احمر، نحن ما حدا يلعب معه.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on FutureTV. I'm Linda Tamim and these are today's top stories. The March 14 General Secretariat suspends its meetings over the delicate security situation in the country. Armenians and East Christian Orthodox celebrate Christmas as Pope Francis holds Epiphany Mass at the Vatican. And after 4 days of intense diplomacy, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry heads home, insisting progress has been made despite failing to agree on a framework to guide Israeli-Palestinian talks. The March 14 General Secretariat has suspended its meetings over the delicate security situation in the country. A statement issued by the General Secretariat says the meetings will be suspended temporarily and its offices in Ashrafieh will remain open to administrative work. The March 14 General Secretariat will continue its weekly meetings in secret and in different locations. The National News Agency says several prominent March 14 politicians and media figures who oppose Syria's regime and its ally Hezbollah have been threatened. The report comes less than a fortnight after a car bombing in central Beirut killed ex-finance minister and member of the March 14 coalition Mohammed Shattah while he was on his way to attend a meeting for the March 14 Alliance in the Center House. At the inauguration of the Federation of Chambers of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture in Lebanon, President Michel Sleiman spoke earlier this afternoon of the importance of stability in Lebanon as a motor for the economy and said that this nation will not be robbed of its dreams nor its children of the future. Maronite Patriarch Bshara Ra'i chaired Epiphany Mass at Notre Dame Cathedral in Kirki, during which he urged Christians in Lebanon and the East to preserve the culture of peace during times of violence and maintain a culture of justice and human dignity in light of ongoing injustice. He urged Christians to spread the values of the Church that call for love, tolerance, freedom, and justice to their societies for the sake of prosperity and growth. The Patriarch concluded by extending his Christmas wishes to Eastern churches, including the Armenian and Coptic ones who are celebrating the occasion. Lebanese Forces leader Samir Jaja says the Hezbollah-led March 8 coalition is seeking to destroy its political opponents in the March 14 alliance. In remarks published in Al Akhbar Daily, Jaja says the assassination of former finance minister Mohammed Shattah was not enough for them, but they began a series of threats over the phone against MP Ahmed Fatfat and then Maishidia and FutureTV's Nadim Teish. Jaja accused March 8 of assassinating March 14 political figures and said his wife, MP Strida Jaja, has also received a death threat. On Sunday, Strida Jaja informed police she received threatening text messages and offensive phone calls over the weekend. Her husband urged Lebanese authorities to take the threats seriously and pursue the culprits behind them. Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri says the March 8 coalition is willing to bring forward the presidential election in a bid to allay any concerns the March 14 alliance may have over the formation of the future government. Berri is responding to the March 14 coalition, which has accused the Hezbollah-led March 8 camp of seeking a vacuum in the government and the post of presidency. Berri, Hezbollah and its March 8 allies have warned against the formation of a neutral, non-partisan cabinet, which they refer to as fait accompli government. In his comments to Safir, Berri confirmed that a new proposal for a 888 cabinet lineup has been floated by politicians to end the government stalemate. The death toll of last week's deadly bombing in the Beirut southern suburbs of Har Tahrir rose to 5 as Al-Manar television journalist Abbas Karnib succumbed to his wounds. Karnib, who had worked for more than 20 years in the TV station, was submitted to Bahman Hospital after being critically injured in the head. The blast was the latest strike against Hezbollah, whose fighters are aiding Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Customs agents at Beirut Rafiq Hariri International Airport foiled an attempt by a Lebanese national to smuggle 4 kilograms of cocaine into the country. The National News Agency says the 49-year-old man, identified by his initials AD, was returning to Beirut from Cyprus. He was detained and referred to the Anti-Drug Bureau. Tribal fighters are laying siege to al-Qaeda-linked jihadists in the northern stronghold of Raqqa, managing to free 50 people they had detained. This is according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Raqqa emerged as a new front Sunday in fighting among rebels battling to oust President Bashar al-Assad, with various groups joining forces against al-Qaeda, affiliate the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Raqqa is the only provincial capital to have fallen out of regime hands since the conflict erupted, when regime opponents took up arms following a bloody crackdown by Assad's forces on democracy protests in March of 2011. But soon afterwards, it fell into the grip of al-Qaeda, which is said to be holding hundreds of prisoners in their now besieged headquarters in the heart of Raqqa. Among ISIL's abductees are scores of rival rebels, activists and journalists, including Westerners. Syria's main opposition national coalition has re-elected Ahmed Jarba as its leader during a General Assembly meeting in Istanbul, Turkey. Jarba won 65 votes, beating his only rival, Riyad Hijab, the best-known defector from the regime of President Bashar al-Assad, by 13 votes. Jarba, who is seen as close key rebel backer Saudi Arabia, was first elected to head the coalition in July and will now lead the group for another 6 months. The coalition today is set to discuss whether to take part in the peace talks, though the Syrian National Council has already announced it will boycott the so-called Geneva II process. That has raised fears the coalition may end up rejecting the talks altogether. And coming up next, Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir arrives in South Sudan as negotiators in Ethiopia prepare formal ceasefire talks to end weeks of fighting. Stay tuned. Welcome back. After 4 days of intense diplomacy, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is heading home, insisting progress has been made despite failing to agree on a framework to guide Israeli-Palestinian talks. On his 10th visit to the region as U.S. top diplomat, Kerry spent hours locked in separate meetings with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. He also made a surprise day trip to key Arab allies, Jordan and Saudi Arabia, with the U.S. remaining tight-lipped about the details. Little news has filtered out about Kerry's proposals to bridge the huge gaps between the two sides as they seek to draw up the contours of two states living side by side. Israeli reports say Kerry pressed Netanyahu to agree to a formula which would enable the return of some Palestinian refugees who fled or were expelled from Israel when the Jewish state was created in 1948, a proposal which was refused by Netanyahu.
I want to thank His Majesty for not just the length of the meeting, but for the quality of the meeting, for the fullness of the exchange of ideas, and particularly for his enthusiastic support for the efforts that are being made with respect to the peace process and the effort to try to end the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Today, His Majesty was not just encouraging, but supported our efforts and hopes that we can be successful in the days ahead, and believes that this is important for the region and that there are great benefits that can come to everybody if we're able to be successful.
An operation is underway to drive hardline fighters out of Iraq's Anbar province, with an aerial assault by government forces hitting east of Fallujah and clashes between the Iraqi army and al-Qaeda-linked Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant near Ramadi, leaving many dead. Iraqi officials say fighting between the army and al-Qaeda-linked rebels near the provincial capital of Ramadi left at least 34 people dead on Sunday, including 22 soldiers and 12 civilians. 58 others were wounded in the clashes, along with an unknown number of anti-government fighters. The takeover of Fallujah and parts of Ramadi is the first time that tribal fighters have exercised such open control in major cities since the height of the bloody insurgency that followed the U.S.-led invasion of 2003. Officials say it will take a few days to wrestle Fallujah and Ramadi from al-Qaeda's control. And in Africa, Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir has arrived in South Sudan as negotiators in Ethiopia prepare formal ceasefire talks to end weeks of fighting. Reports say Bashir will meet his southern counterpart, President Salva Kiir, in Juba for talks on the conflict affecting the world's youngest country. In parallel, formal peace talks between South Sudan's government and rebels kicked off in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa. The talks, brokered by the East African Regional Bloc, IGAD, aim at ending 3 weeks of fighting in South Sudan that has left thousands of dead and about 200,000 people displaced. Earlier, the Foreign Ministry spokesman in Khartoum reaffirmed Sudan's wish to see a continuation of the political process aimed at finding a peaceful resolution to the conflict in South Sudan. And now for news around the world in brief. Pope Francis has presided over a special Epiphany Mass marking the coming of the 3 wise men to Bethlehem. Epiphany is a holiday related to Christmas observed by many Christians, especially Orthodox Christians. Later that day, Pope Francis will visit local Rome parish to see its performance of a live nativity scene. It will be a private event. Medics say the condition of former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has deteriorated for the 6th straight day, adding that while doctors managed to stabilize some of Sharon's bodily functions, several vital organs, including his kidneys, are still in decline. Israelis have been closely following reports about Sharon's deteriorating medical condition since last week, when his health took a turn for the worse. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel has fractured her pelvis in a cross-country skiing accident, forcing her to call off some foreign visits and official appointments. She is advised to rest and has to use crutches. A government spokesman, however, says the Chancellor is able to work and fully communicate. China has destroyed more than 6 tons of illegal ivory amid growing concerns over elephant poaching. It's an unprecedented move, wildlife groups say, shows growing concern about the black market trade by authorities in the world's biggest market for elephant tusks. Authorities displayed a pile of ornaments, carvings and tusks to reporters before pulverizing them with crushing machines. Forestry officials organized the destruction, which they say was the country's first such large-scale public event. Conservation groups say China is the world's biggest market for ivory. Ivory can command up to $2,000 per kilogram on the black market, earning it the nickname white gold. A family business in Lebanon has manufactured a gift soap with such ingredients as fragrant plants, essential oils and diamond, and even gold. The 160-gram palm-sized soap, valued at $2,800, looks and smells the same as a traditional Lebanese olive soap, but it contains diamond and gold powders of 5 and 17 grams respectively. Manufacturer Amir Hassoun says the soap will not hurt the user's skin despite its rough texture. On the contrary, it has exceptional skincare effects because it contains 11 kinds of precious fragrant plants and essential oils. The 28-year-old manages the handmade soap factory in Tripoli that has been handed down through his family from generation to generation. Hassoun says since his country has long been associated with conflicts and turbulence, he decided to create the world's most expensive soap to showcase Lebanon's exquisite handicrafts. The soap, named Qatar, as it was made as a special gift for Qatar's First Lady, became a success as soon as it appeared at Doha World Luxury Expo in 2013. Hassoun even said he will apply to have the soap recognized by the Guinness World Records this year.
That kind of soap, it's a change your shower from daily routine to a pleasure. It's not only the most expensive soap in the world because it's only made of gold and diamond. It's really something special, have a special psychological and spiritual effect on human being. Some people, if they don't know Lebanese or Lebanon, they think Lebanon is only war and problems and like this. So that's why we make this kind of idea to make the best and the expensive soap in the world to show no, it's different. Lebanon is a country of making something unique, and they can know that in Lebanon there is many handicrafts, beautiful handicrafts.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. The March 14 General Secretariat suspends its meetings over the delicate security situation in the country. Armenians and East Christian Orthodox celebrate Christmas as Pope Francis holds Epiphany Mass at the Vatican. And after 4 days of intense diplomacy, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry heads home insisting progress has been made despite failing to agree on a framework to guide Israeli-Palestinian talks. Those are your Monday headlines from us here at Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, wishing all those who celebrate Christmas today a very happy celebration.
نحن بحاجة إلى حكومة مسؤولة وفاعلة.
في عندنا 25 اذار بعتبره خط احمر، نحن ما حدا يلعب معه.